All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first office hour, which is more of just an introduction to class. But this is the format we'll be doing our office hours in. So, welcome. All right. We have our TAs here on the line up, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So, take it away.
Hi, my name is Min Smith. I've been TAing with Jay about 4 semesters now. I always have a lot of fun and look forward to answering your questions.
My name is Stella Biederman. This is my first time TAing this class and also my first time TAing any class. But I had a lot of fun taking it last term and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys and answering your questions.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Dorn. I'm also a first time TA. Hello.
And hey, I'm Matt Martz, another first-time TA for the program. I was a TA back in my first master's. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys.
All right. Thank you all. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about all of the different pieces of software and servers that are out there and how they work together and the course in general. TAs, if you have things to do, you can take off, or if you want to just hang out and chat and tell people about your experiences, feel free to do that as well. Okay, so first up, Udacity. This is the website that has your lesson plans on it. And they import the registration data from Georgia Tech. And so hopefully if you registered more than 24 hours ago in your Udacity account, which you have to log in with your Georgia Tech credentials, you should have access to the course. If not, there is a URL that we posted on Piazza that you can go directly to the course and see it with any account. And you can view the lecture videos. Notice that there is a sign in with Georgia Tech credentials button on the Udacity login screen, and you need to log in with that so that it will link to your Georgia Tech account so that when we download the problem set data, we'll actually get it. Sometimes this linkage doesn't work correctly, and that's why we absolutely require you to submit your problem set answers to Canvas to get the full credit. Now, if you get the data into Udacity, and we can download it from Udacity, we'll give you about 95 to 98%, depending on which problem set it is, of the credit. But if you forget that Canvas submission, we're going to ding you 1 or 2 points, mostly just to remind you that, hey, this is required. And the reason it's required is if for whatever reason the data doesn't come through from Udacity, Canvas is what we look at to make sure you actually did it. And if it's not on Canvas and it's not on Udacity, guess what? You get a 0. So make sure it's on both. You pretty much have to get it on Udacity just to solve it and test the solutions. Okay, now on Udacity, there's lessons. There's lesson 1, which you should be watching this week, and then there's a problem set immediately after that. And if you look at the syllabus, the problem sets basically follow each lesson, and if you look at when you have to get the problem set done, that gives you a very good clue of when you should finish the lesson before. Theoretically, you could solve a problem set without watching the lesson, but it'd be a lot harder, so it's easier just to watch the lesson first. There are quizzes in the lesson. The quizzes are ungraded. If you have any questions about those, you can post questions on Piazza about them. It's only the problem sets that are graded, and they're in their own modules. So office hours. You're watching the first one. Usually we don't do many, we do some announcements at front, like just 1 or 2 minutes of announcements, and then we go to the Piazza post and we answer all the questions that students have posted. Typically they're Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, just like this one now. If you can't watch it online in active, at the same time, you can always go to that YouTube URL and watch it after the fact. Usually I'll post the Piazza post on like Friday or maybe Sunday if I get lazy, so that you have 3 or 4 days to post questions up to it. Now, if you're watching now, you'll notice there's a chat window on the side on YouTube. We're actually using a Google Hangouts to author it, and it doesn't show the chat, so that chat is useful only with chatting amongst yourselves. If you want to send a question to us, you have to post it in the Piazza post, and that's what we check for when we're looking for questions to answer. So I recommend that each week you watch the first few minutes for the announcements, even if you're not interested in seeing the questions answered. And when the questions are posted in Piazza ahead of time, I'll usually type a short textual answer so you can get the gist of it without actually watching the video. Okay, so We also have Piazza. Hopefully you found that. And that's where we do most of the support and question answer and also communications with the course. So if you just have a quick factual question, something you need an answer to, Piazza is usually the best place to post it. And usually, you just post the question, we answer it, and you're done. So office hours are really most useful for questions that require a more detailed answer or an answer that's more opinion based. And, there's lots of things to that. So, and I start talking about the trade-offs and benefits and, cost benefit and pros and cons and things that I don't want to have to type out a 15 paragraph answer on Piazza, where it's really just kind of, hey, let's have a discussion about some topic. Okay, so Canvas. Canvas is our main management system for the course, and it is used primarily for assignment submission and returning the grades. We share the files for the assignments on Canvas as well. And if we ever need to make a very official announcement, something that like changes the syllabus, for example, changes a date or whatever, that will be posted on Canvas. So make sure you check your notification settings. You want to, check Canvas once a day if you don't have it set to send you an email when you make a new announcement or whatever. Now, that being said, the communications is done with Piazza. So on Canvas, if you type a message as part of your assignment submission, we don't see that because we download all the assignments with an automated script and we grade it and we upload the grades again. And humans don't actually see that on Canvas unless we need to peer into something deep. So if you have a question, post it on Piazza. So there's two types of questions. There's public questions and private questions. On public questions, that's a question where it's something about the course content or it's something about the logistics of the course where somebody else, even if it's only one other student, might be interested in knowing the answer. And so if it's something like, hey, when's the due date for this? I'll say, well, go look at the syllabus. But if you're like, hey, is this format okay? Post it as a public question and one of us will answer it. And then all of the students can see that answer. And so they won't have to ask the same question. Private questions are used for two things. So the first thing is if you have like a regrade request or a question about a grade we return, something that's private to your particular grade or your particular account, you just post it privately. Make sure you post it to the instructors in general as opposed to a particular TA. And that way, whichever instructor or TA is on duty will get to it. And so we can all see it as well. And so we'll answer those. And also, if you have something where you need to show us some of your code. So you're working on a project, a piece of code is crashing or dying or not working the way you think it's supposed to. You can't post that publicly because then you're showing all the other students what code you're working on. So you make a private post and post that. Piazza has a very nice feature called a code block that will do syntax highlighting and, more importantly, preserve the indentation of Python. So if you post any Python code, please put it inside of a code block. Also, as you're doing these questions, you can do follow-ups to the question, and the follow-ups can be marked either resolved or unresolved. And so if you're just making a comment where you don't need an answer, just make the comment and then mark it resolved. If you're doing a follow-up question where you need an answer, leave it marked unresolved, and after either another student answers it or a TA answers it, then we'll click resolve to mark that we think it's been resolved. If we're wrong and you don't understand it, go back and check it to be unresolved again and maybe add some more details if you need to. Okay, so those are the main websites. We have Canvas, we have Piazza, and there's the Udacity website. And then, of course, office hours are kind of hosted by YouTube. Okay, TAs, I've talked about all the main websites. Any comments from you before I go into course content and material and so forth?
I'll just add that on Piazza, everyone sees the same resolved status. Don't go resolving other people's questions.
All right. Okay. So course content. Well, first of all, a couple of details. Read the syllabus, read the policy guidelines document. You're responsible for having read them. There's lots of good information. In there's a thing about backing up your work. So we recommend that you use a cloud backup system, OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever. So your work is in a backup cloud folder so that if your computer crashes, you can hurriedly borrow a friend's computer or buy a new computer and access all of your work on a backup. And if you want, their Georgia Tech provides GitHub. It's a Georgia Tech specific GitHub, and it allows it allows private repositories. Also, I just heard that GitHub is now allowing private repositories for just free accounts. So please do not post your work publicly on a GitHub repository, because if some other student is Googling and finds your answers to some problem or project, and it's getting down to the deadline, they don't know how it's working, they might unfortunately decide to take your work and submit it as their own. And then when we run our anti-plagiarism detection software, we say, hey, these two students have submitted the same work, and we don't know who came up with it. And so you both get sent to OSI, and OSI just says, well, unauthorized collaboration. They obviously somehow, one of them got it from the other somehow, and you both get the same penalty. So be sure not to post your work in this course publicly. If you're backing it up on GitHub or something, check that little box that says make this a private repository. Now, first thing to do, problem sets. There's 6 problem sets. You don't have to do them all right away. You want to do problem set 1, then problem set 2, then problem set 3, and then we'll talk about some of the other assignments after you get those first 3 problem sets done. Problem sets have answers. So in Udacity, after each problem in the problem set, there's an answer video, and you can watch them. And sometimes this surprises people. So every semester I have to answer questions on Piazza of, is it okay if I look at this answer before I turn it in? And yes, it is. So you can even copy the answer that Sebastian uses and submit that as your answer. Although we appreciate if you say, yeah, I couldn't figure this out, so I had to copy the answer from the answer video. But that is course content. You're welcome to use it. And the idea here is that you do the problem set. Well, the idea is as you do the lectures, you do the little mini quizzes in the lectures, and hopefully you get all those and you understand what's going on. You get to the problem set, you work on the problem set. It's a little harder, but not as hard as the projects. And then you solve it all on your own, and that proves, hey, I really understand what's going on here. Now, if you can't solve it on your own, you got to figure it out. And so that's when you would look at the answer video. Now, the temptation is there just to say, well, let me look at the answer video first and then go back and do it. And I recommend you don't do that, because once you've seen the answer video, the answer seems simple and you think you know what you're doing and you can solve it. And then a week later, you forget how it all worked. So I recommend you struggle through it, work through it on your own without looking at the answer video. Save that for at least a day. So if after a day you're banging your head, you can't make any progress and something's just not working, then go look at the answer video and see what's up. So yes, you can look at the answer videos. Yes, conceptually, all the answers are posted there for you. So there's no reason you should ever not get 100% on every problem set unless you forget to turn it in. So don't forget to turn it in. The problem sets, I just today posted all 6 of them on Canvas. You can work ahead as much as you want on the problem sets. You can turn them all in early. I recommend you get them turned in a bit early, just so that if there's a network outage, a hurricane strikes, and you're without power for 4 days, your computer crashes, whatever issues happen, you don't have to worry about it. And so work ahead. Now, assignments, problem sets 1, 2, and 3 correspond to lessons 1, 2, and 3. Those are what you're doing over the next couple of weeks. So you're watching the lessons, doing the problem sets. The first real assignment is the mini project called Runaway Robot. And it is on Udacity. And so you can solve it on Udacity. If you wanted to work really fast, you could work ahead and solve it tomorrow. Well, you have to watch a lot of hours of videos, but you can do it. And so it will be expanded slightly. We will do the assignment. We'll post it on Canvas in a couple of days. And you'll find that there's new test suites in the assignment we post on Canvas. So you'll want to run the new test suites against your code, make sure everything works. But that's your first mini project, is getting Runaway Robot working. And lesson 2 is about Kalman filters. Lesson 3 is about particle filters. Technically, you can do mini project Runaway Robot with just watching lessons 1 and 2. You don't need to use a particle filter on it. In fact, it's designed so that a Kalman filter might be the easiest way to solve it. Conversely, coming up next is project 1. It's like Runaway Robot. It uses a lot of the same code base, but the robot has a different motion model. And I'll give you a hint. It's probably, not necessarily, but probably easier to solve with a particle filter. So if you want, do lessons 1, 2, problem sets 1 and 2. If you want, you can do 3, or you can look at Runaway Robot and kind of work on Runaway Robot while you're in parallel doing particle filters in lesson 3 and problem set 3. But just keep in mind that the ideal is that you solve the runaway robot with one and you use the other method to solve project one. And you might find it easiest to use Kalman filter for the mini project and then a particle filter for runaway robot. Although people have solved both of these projects with the alternate, and some people have solved them with completely different artificial intelligence, neural networks, just pure geometry and statistics. There's lots of ways to solve the project, and it's not required that you use any particular technique. But kind of the recommended, if you're trying to learn all of the concepts in the course, is to solve the runaway robot with a Kalman filter or extended Kalman filter, and solve project one the polygon robot with a particle filter. But you could use a Kalman filter for both. You could use a particle filter for both, or you could do your own thing. So those are the first initial projects. That's going to take you the first month or so. Coming up after that, we have lessons 4, which is search and searching space and path planning, and 5, which has path smoothing and a little PID. And so project 2 is all about problem set 4 and lesson 4, the searching, and a little bit of the path smoothing. And so after you do problem set 4 and 5, you'll notice that the next project is project 2. And we'll be releasing project 2 just a little bit before project 1 is due. So if you get done on project 1 a little early, you'll have a little time to work on project 2 ahead of time. After that, we have problem set 5, which is about PID. And then we have a mini project PID, which is probably, I think, the easiest project to do. Some people might disagree with me that conceptually it's complicated, but code-wise, it can be done in 20, 30 lines of code. So if you find yourself solving mini project 2 PID in 4 or 5 hours and it all works perfectly and you're like, was that too easy? No, it wasn't. Mini project 2 is the easiest project. Following after that, I think mini project 1 array robots, the second easiest. Project 1, the polygon robot, is a little bit harder. Project 2 is a bear. It's conceptually pretty straightforward, but it's going to take a lot of time. You'll notice there's a lot of time allocated to it in the class, and it has 2 parts, an A and a B. And so you're going to want to hit project 2 right when it gets posted and work on it continuously. Project 3, some people say it's easier than project 2. Some people say it's harder. It only has 1 part at least. Well, that's not technically true. You have to do the SLAM library and then you have to use the SLAM library. So I guess it does have 2 parts. But if you look at the percentage grading in the syllabus for how much weight we assign to each project, that's a good metric of relative difficulty level in our opinion. That being said, if you have programmed in Python and you have a statistics background, a linear algebra background, you might find this course quite easy. If you've never programmed in Python and it's been a long time since you've had any math class, you may put in 2 to 3 times as many hours as a peer who has all that background. So the problem sets are relatively easy. They're a little harder than the mini quizzes in the lessons, but they're not super hard. The projects are a step up from the problem sets. So if you're going through the first couple of weeks, you're like, oh, this is easy. I'm knocking out these problem sets in an hour or two. I'm going to wait till that last weekend to finish project 1. Don't do that. Finish project 1, start it when as soon as you get to it, finish it, see how long it took you, use that as an idea for how long to, work on the next one. But my recommendation is it's much better to start them when they're posted, finish them early, submit them, and then not have to worry about it and then go do whatever else you're doing in your life, another class or whatever else. But start early, because sometimes you'll run into a problem that'll take multiple days of you posting questions on Piazza and somebody answering 10 hours later, and then you having a follow-up question and somebody answering 6 hours later. And you need that extra time, especially in the online format, to have a little bit of time to go back and forth on things you get caught on. So start early and work ahead. Okay, that's my prepared speech about how hard the class is and how you should always work ahead and start early and back up your work. TAs, especially those who have taken the class just recently, anything to add?
Good luck.
Okay. All right, I am going to open up Piazza and see if any students have posted any questions on the author's thread. And if they haven't, then we're done. If they have, I'll do my best to answer them on the fly here. And you're all going to have to wall I get another tab open and go and resolve the thing. And my computer chugged because it's pausing 4 video streams and 3 web browsers at the same time.
There's nothing on Piazza. There's nothing on the YouTube chat, and there's nothing on Slack.
In that case, I think we're just about done. Let me tab back to the screen. Here we are. Okay, all good? All right, I'll see you all next week. All right, bye.